Another day, another video. So today we're going to build Instagram, a clone of Instagram. And the reason why we're doing Instagram is because it is still one of the most popular social media applications. And unlike some of these other apps, there's a fairly important graphical element to it. So that's why I'm picking Instagram. If you notice that here, it's still more popular than TikTok, despite all the news generated about TikTok lately. I believe this is in millions, but this is saying that it's 200 million more active users per month than TikTok. So anyway, so this is a screenshot of Instagram off of my iPhone. As you can see, it's pretty attractive looking application. I believe Instagram actually came out long before SwiftUI, so I don't think Instagram is built in SwiftUI. But in order to learn SwiftUI, I am building it with SwiftUI. So this is SwiftUI 2.0. These are all static elements. There's currently no backend, but as you can see, it looks pretty similar, except the icons and certain graphics are stuff that I had to estimate and find on my own. So they're not an exact match, but it's still pretty close. So the way I'm going to do it is, in today's video, I'm going to do this first tab on the navigation. Then, assuming that this video gets enough views, I'll do the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And then finally, I'll do a backend using Vapor, Swift Vapor, and tie it all together with security and a PostgreSQL database. So let's get started. So to save some time, I've gone ahead and installed the font. So this sort of kind of looks like this. I was able to get it off of Google Fonts. And then I've pre-installed some of my image assets. Again, not being downloaded off the database, just hard-coded in the assets catalog. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to have a tab view. And each tab view's tab item is going to be a navigation view. And the reason for that is when you're mixing navigation views and tab views, you have to make each tab item a navigation view in order for the navigations to happen properly. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is not intuitive. So I'm figuring this out as I go in the process of learning SwiftUI. But that's what I discovered. So, since everything here is basically a vertical stacking of views, that's why I am having a VStack. So just remember that when you click on any of these, the entire visible view is going to be, including even this up here, is going to be each one of these. So if I have a second one, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Although this might change because of what's going on the screen, but nevertheless, I'm going to do roughly the same thing, and so on and so forth. So let me just pre-fill these tabs so that we have something to look at. So we have the camera in the middle, heart, and then person. All right, so any colors, any sort of off elements, padding, and margins will take care of that sort of later on towards the end. So this not being the same color, we'll just take care of that a bit later. I just want to get some of the core look and feel built out first, and then we'll start tweaking and fixing as we go. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to build out this top nav bar. But if you look at this, we can see that everything in between the top nav bar and the bottom nav bar is a scrollable, right? So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to have that top nav, and then we're going to have a scroll view inside of it containing the rest of the content. So in this case, I know I'm going to be reusing this, so I'm just going to go ahead and make a separate view. So if you look at this, it's kind of even 3 columns. So you have an empty space, and then at the very dead center you have the logo, and then you have this icon at the end. So I'm going to use a LazyVGrid. And each column is going to be a fixed width. And the way that I'm going to make sure that regardless of what actual device we have, and therefore the changing screen sizes that are here, I am going to use a GeometryReader. So inside of here, So inside of here, I'm going to have a pre-created thirds width size. And then I'm going to pass that into this guy. Most of the dimension related fields are going to be of type CG float. But anyway, so I'll just copy and paste the rest of these guys. I don't really use the preview much. So these are a LazyGrid with only one row. So we're not going to have like a for each or anything in here. We're just going to have one row. And since each column needs to have an element inside of it, we're going to start with a spacer. And then we're going to have the text. And this text is going to use our custom font. And the one that I found that was pretty close to the Instagram one is Oleo Script. And I'm using the regular weight of it. So we'll try that out for size. This is a system image. So that just means it's coming off of SF Symbols, which is a catalog, a free catalog of icons that Apple provides. So, oh no, actually, that's not right. Yeah, this is one that I downloaded. I have a subscription to the Noun project, which I believe is like $5.95 a month or something like that. And you can get a whole mess of different icons from there. So if you want to start messing around with the sizes and stuff like that, you have to make the image resizable. And then in this case, we want it to fit a specific dimension. And in the case of SwiftUI, you don't have anything like, you don't have like this, right? So when you're trying to explicitly set dimensions, you have to set it with the frame. So width and height as the parameters, although there is also min width, min height, max, all that good stuff. So I think I set this to 12. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to do a rotation effect. And the reason why we need that is if you look at the icon, it's kind of rotated to the upper right. And the icon that I found in Noun Project is kind of pointing directly to the right. So I just want to rotate it very slightly upwards. I think that's all I had. So I'm going to do the Nav View. I wish they had in Swift that thing that they have in JavaScript, where if the name of the parameter and the name of the passed in variable is the same, you could just, do this. But unfortunately, they don't have that yet. Although I will say that is not very Swifty. Okay, so as you can see, I did the icon size wrong, but here we have the top nav bar. Let me show you the real screen. So it's pretty close, and then I'll just grow this in size a little bit. And like I said, I'll fix all this padding and margins and stuff a little bit later, but I just want to focus on getting the core screen stuff working as of right now. So this, I think, is probably more like 20. Okay, so that's good enough. So the reason why this thing isn't pushing all the way to the top is because the navigation view, actually this is a good topic to talk about. The navigation view is, it has its own implicit header right here. So when you want to modify that, you would think, you do navigation bar item or title or whatever, and then you just get rid of it that way. But the way the navigation view works is that anything that is a visible part of it is actually going to be done inside of one of the children. And in particular, in the case of the header bar right here, it's the immediate child, which in my case is a VStack, because this you can think of more as a logical view, not really a visible view. The visible stuff is really what's inside of it. And this is more about getting you from one destination screen to another. So you can think of it more along those lines. So if I do this and then I refresh, we should see it pushed up to the top because it was actually being pushed down by that invisible header. So anyway, moving along. So now we have this bar up here. And like I said, I don't really use Instagram, but I believe this is some kind of news, top news or something feed up here. So the way we're going to build this out, and as you saw, I'm already kind of from the beginning, I want to componentize stuff and I want it to be structured properly from the beginning so then I don't have to go back and try to look for stuff and cut it out and paste it somewhere and do all of that work. So I'm just going to do all of this up front. So like what I was saying before, the whole contents inside in between the header and the bottom nav bar is scrollable. So that's why we have this scroll view here. And then in here, because these elements are not there's only ever going to be these three elements. So this image, whatever the news may be, the news text may be, and then this sort of close down X button. So I'm just going to make it as an H stack as opposed to making it a lazy H stack or whatever, because there's no benefit in doing that. So first thing we need is the image. Then we need the text. And then we have another image. So this image, I think I yes, I did download it. What is the name of it? Round flag. Yeah, so this is not part of SF symbols. So we're going to do a lot of this resizable aspect ratio stuff. I'm going to try 20. So this is going to be boilerplate lorem ipsum. So I need to find where I put the lorem ipsum. So I also want to control the font, but we'll just go with whatever's in the system. We'll make it kind of smaller. This thing, this X, is actually available in SF, so I just got it from there. Let's just copy this because this gets really old. So if you're new to SwiftUI, basically what's going on is every single thing, SwiftUI is declarative, meaning it is not what's called imperative or command driven. So imperative is when you say, hey, do this, then do that. If somebody clicks on this, then do this, you know, sort of like commanding. Declarative is more like static HTML or XML, where even though this is code, you can see that it's kind of just being laid out on the Xcode screen. And there isn't that much direct logic that you can see. And that's basically, you know, that's not an accident. That's the way that SwiftUI is designed. And if you look at these elements one by one, they are all views, every single one of them. So this is a view, this is a view, this is a view, this is also a view. Even smallish elements like image and text, even these guys are views. So when you want to, so then the question might be like, okay, fine, but if I want to change something, if I want to, let's say something happens and I want to hide something, or something happens and I want to show something, or I want to move something across the screen, well, you know, how do I do that? So it's kind of, you could say it's kind of in two pieces. The main piece is there is something called property wrappers. And this is all discussed in my other video. So I don't want to get too involved into this stuff and get off the main topic of actually building this app. But there are various types of property wrappers that act a lot like state in React, which if you're watching my videos, you're probably familiar at least somewhat with React. So basically all that means is you have some sort of data variable. It could be literally anything, and it's associated to some portion of your UI. And then if that data variable, and again, there's many different types and they're all started with @, but if it should change, then that tells SwiftUI, the runtime, that your UI needs to change, and that change happens. So it could be anything, color, whatever, layout, you know, visibility, it could be anything. On top of that, every view has the ability to be modified. So you lay out your view, but then you put in these things called view modifiers, and they are able to basically receive the view, modify it in some way, and then return it. And this is why you're able to have this functional like syntax, because every single one of these modifiers will return a new modified view. Now, a lot of this will seem like it's bad performance and stuff, but just like React, there's a lot of internal optimizations where it checks if it actually has to change anything or not, and if it doesn't, then it just won't do it, and all of that stuff. So it's pretty performant as far as I can tell thus far. So anyway, getting back to the subject. So we were here, and I want to make my foreground color to be a little bit lighter. And okay, we don't need this. Okay, so I'm going to move this out in a moment, but I just want to see it on the screen. Okay, so yeah, that was too big. So as you can see, we've got our little, I don't know, subheader news feed thing going on here. This icon actually, I forgot to add this. So this has a slight rotation up here, right? The icon that I found is, again, directly pointing to the right. So we're going to add this little negative rotation just to get it to look more like the real screen, the real application. Okay, so you can see that that happened. And again, we'll fix all the padding and stuff later. So I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to create a new folder. Let's call it news. Hello. All right, let's call it news. And then, so we'll call it the news view. I don't think I needed any column with stuff in here. No, I didn't. So once again, we need another VStack, because as you can see, one stacked above this, etc. So that's why we have another VStack. So fine, that still works. So next item is these sets of, I don't know what you call them, avatars, thumbnails, whatever. So this is going to be another HStack, but because these are the list of users that I'm following, so this first icon is actually me, or it's supposed to represent my ability to create these TikTok-like stories. So this is supposed to be me, but the rest of these guys are supposed to be the people that I'm following. And since it's possible, obviously, for me to follow whatever, 200 people or whatever it is, this is scrollable. So you don't want to load all of those people simultaneously, right? So we're going to make this a lazy and a lazy HStack, lazy horizontal stack. So let's do it here for now, just so we can visualize everything, and then I'll move it over to the other file. All right, so a lazy HStack, and we're going to need a for each because it's indefinite how many people might be in here. Now for the first one, we don't need a for each because that would be my icon right here. But for the rest of them, we do. And then for each one, whoops. And for each one, they need to be inside of this VStack because as you can see, it's the image and then the text underneath. So we need something like this. Now, because these are going to be hard-coded values, I'm just going to create my list of peoples. So let's create a models folder for this. What is this? Oh, I already have it. Okay. So this guy I already went ahead and created because it's boilerplate code. And as you can see, I have it's identifiable, so I can loop through it easily. And then I have these two fields. My username, the user ID name, is going to be the same name as the person's picture file. And then the image is going to be this image right here, which again is local to this build. So we've got the person's name. Mr. Glasses is one of my peoples, and small laptop is one of the images that I have. And then I think it's called this. What was the other thing called? My Lady. My Lady. And then puzzle. Okay, so we are going to have people here. The ID will be the ID. And we'll loop through each person. And we'll do the same thing for each person. We'll do a VStack of image and text. So the image for me is going to be a system name image that I found on SF. This is a ridiculously long name, so that's why I'm copying and pasting it right here. On top of that, we're going to do the resizing stuff again, the aspect ratio stuff. We're going to size it. And then this time we're going to do a 3D rotation, which will actually flip it instead of rotating it. And the reason why we're going to flip it is because the icon that I found is actually, how should I say, this thing is on the other side. So I just want to flip the image. So I'm going to change the foreground color. Pretty much going to go gray for almost everything. It was still a little too dark, I found, so. And then I'm going to invert the where the colors are and where the colors are not. So then we do your story. This is going to be a system. Size is going to be 12. So actually, let me just copy and paste these. Although we're not going to do the rotations here. We're not going to do any of this stuff. I think this is too big for the icons. And these images are coming off of the static assets. Once again. Okay. So now we have most of what we need of this stuff right here. But as you can see, not only are the images rounded, but they have this little ring around them. Right? So we're going to have to construct that because that is not a built-in control. So that would be affecting this image right here. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to clip the shape. And what that means is it's cutting out, because the default of an image is to be square, right? So clip shape means cut out this shape that I'm about to give you. And that shape for us will be a circle. So that's the first thing that we're doing. And then on top of that, we're going to do a stroke overlay. Stroke overlay is going to be also a circle. And stroke is like a painting stroke, or the stroke of a painting. And this is going to be only 2 wide because it's just going to be a dark circle around the circle. So, and I think that's it. So let's test this out. Okay, so almost what we want. Where am I? Okay, so honestly, this might not be the, how should I say, the right way, quote unquote, to do this. But as you can see, this is center aligned. And this is an issue that I'm seeing with the Lazy. Because if I do HStack, it's left aligned, right? So, sorry, let me just show you the thing again. It's, as you can see, once I bring back Lazy, it's center aligned. So if I do this, leading, and I'll explain what leading trailing is in a moment. Okay, so that took care of it. So what I was going to do is I was going to put it embedded inside of another 8-stack, hoping that that would, and then put a spacer, but obviously that's unnecessary amount of code. So this works better. So leading and trailing as far as alignments go. So the reason why this stuff is not called left and right, and it's called leading and trailing, is because SwiftUI supports right to left languages as well. So obviously you can't say right and left. It doesn't mean the same thing. So they use this nomenclature for that. So now we have it pretty much the way that we want, but I want to put some padding right now, even though I said I wasn't going to do that, but it just annoys me the way that it looks right now. So I'm going to do it. Hopefully 20 will be enough. Yeah, that's good enough. The margins around, like I said, we'll fix later, but this was just kind of annoying me right now. So just want to make sure I'm in the right place. Yeah. So we'll grab this guy. We will also put it in its own container view. This is going to be, I'm just going to call it thumbs because I don't know if it's avatars or what it's supposed to be. So thumb view. Let's just make sure I'm not passing any. Yes, I am. Of course I am. Duh. All right. So we have that array of persons. I really hope they get around to doing that thing. So does this compile? No, it doesn't compile. What did I miss? Okay, I don't care about the previews. The previews definitely can be useful, but for this, I'm definitely thinking this is a better tool. Let me put some more padding here. Okay, that looks a little better. So again, these will keep going all the way to the right as we add more items. Okay, so then we have this list of content, right? And as you can see, it's, how do I want to say this? It's not content for one person. It's just sort of like a news feed as the content comes in. It's labeled whose it is with a little bit of descriptive information. I don't really know what is supposed to be in here, so I just copied it from the screenshot that I had. But so this could be an indefinitely long list. So what we're going to do is we're going to contain all of these items. So in this case, it's only 3 sets, but we're going to create a VStack to contain all of them. Actually, we'll do a LazyVStack, so it only loads on demand. And then inside of that, we will have some kind of loop where each main view would be these 3 items. So one element inside, immediately inside the VStack would be this sort of title-ish bar up here, the actual image itself, and then, you know, this ability here to like it or search what I assume is this guy's postings or chat with him and then bookmark. So all 3 of these will be one item inside of the main VStack, which will be here. So if we go back in here, we're going to do, again, a lazy to try and improve performance. And then inside of that, we're going to do a for each. So this is all people stuff. So we're going to do people again. And then we're going to do for each person, we're going to do an H stack. So that represents this whole bar right here. And then we're going to do an image, this guy right here, and then we're going to do this bottom bar right here. So the bottom bar, I actually am going to make a LazyVGrid. We don't need the laziness, but I want to put columns and stuff on it, and this is a pretty easy way to do that. Another thing that I like about SwiftUI, which I'm sure you've noticed, is as I've been constructing these views, I've been kind of, even though I get these errors when I'm not filling them out properly, I've been kind of laying them out first with the views because, you know, declarative is, that's the way that it works, right? You just lay it out. So being able to do that visually kind of helps you out in terms of logical flow. So I think that's another pretty cool thing about SwiftUI. So the first thing we're going to do is this thumbnail. And I'm just going to copy and paste the code from here, but we'll make it reusable later. And then these 2 texts are going to be a VStack with text and then a text underneath it. And then this is going to be an image and all inside of this. So where did I have the thumbs? So in the case of the image that I need, I don't need the user's name. So I'm just going to grab this. And I think because I was also using person, we shouldn't really need to change anything here other than shrink the size of the image to fit the small bar. And then, like I said, we need a VStack because it's going to be a text on top of a text. So it's going to be the person username, and then again, I don't know what this is supposed to be, so I'm just putting anything. So we'll just leave it like that. And we'll just use the system font. I think around 12 is going to be okay. Okay. And then finally, we have that last image of the dots. So this is an image that I found. I think it was off of Noun Project. But I'm going to have to do that resizable stuff, the aspect to fit. I'm going to do the frame. What did I do? 12? No, I think I did 15. I think that was it. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, so obviously this is squished together because there's no images and all that stuff yet. This right in here is because I am missing the alignment. Again, it will be leading. And then this over here, where am I? Believe, whoops. Yes. Okay. So it's a little bit big. So we'll do 30. The font looks okay. And then we have this stuff. So this means that I need a spacer. And again, if you're not familiar, spacer it not only means filling in the gap, but it will take up the entire space that is not being used. So you'll see what that looks like when I refresh. So you see how it pushed everything out this way, because whatever is not being used, the spacer takes it over. So this again annoys me. So I'm gonna do that. I probably shouldn't do it yet, but let's just leave it in there. Oh, sorry guys. I was wondering why the ring wasn't showing up properly. Let's try 2. So what I'm doing here is I'm having the sizing and resizable and all of this business, and then I'm putting a little bit of padding, a little bit of a gap in between the circle cutout and that overlay stroke. So this should give us that little empty space which looks like a ring. So you can see right here. So I have to put that in our original thumbs as well. What? Is it too small? Oh no, I put it on the wrong one. Oh, so sorry. Okay, there it is. Okay, so other than the margins, paddings, that sort of stuff, we're looking pretty good so far. Now I've got to do my image and the bottom bar right here. But before that, because this thing is starting to grow, I'm going to put this guy into its own thing. So let's call this folder content. Obviously you can call it whatever you want, but it sort of is the content, but oh no, I can't call it content view. Let's call it people content. Name's getting a little long, but people content view. I think I'm gonna have to pass the person in here. I think that's the only thing that I need. Again, getting rid of this, don't need that. Yep. So people content view, person. Just make sure this works. Okay, so that still works. And then we're going to have our image, and the image is going to be person.image. I hate it when Xcode, IntelliSync or code or whatever stops working. Did I spell it wrong? Okay. Okay. Comes in after I finish typing. I love Xcode. All right. So what's next? Oh, yes, that's right. So for this, we actually wanted to fill the entire available space. So I'm going to leave that alone. And then I think, what was I going to do? I was going to do a LazyVGrid. Yeah, that's what I was going to do. It's going to be fixed size. It's going to have that same column width. Again, I'm just using this not because I have to, but because it just makes it easier to get these kind of layouts. So, yeah. And then what I'll do is, for now, I'll just put in some placeholders. Just want to make sure my image loads. All right, cool. So the image loaded. And as you can see, our 3 spaces on the bar. I don't want that. I want it to be bigger than that. So what did I do to make it bigger than that? All right, we'll have to fix that later. But since this is just a single image, I'm not gonna bother making this reusable at all. Having said that, this I definitely should. So what I'm doing here is I'm having, because you can't see it in the screenshot right here, I'm having these 3 images here and then this one and an empty space right here. So the first image is the same heart from the nav bar. Then the second image is, and I'm going to enclose these in an HStack in a moment, but is the magnifying glass. And then the, I think it was called plain arrow. So it's resizable, aspect ratio. This will be to fit. In there, it's probably around 15. So let's just copy and paste these over. But again, in here, not the thumb view, the nav view, gonna get the rotation effect. Right, so that we can get this little angle that's visible here. And then on top of that, I remember that because this is not, actually, sorry, these are coming off of the system. So I have to do this to indicate where they're coming off of. And then this is mine that I downloaded. But what I saw is that because mine seems to have a bigger, it seems to have a bigger, I think I put 8, bigger border or box around it. It was kind of getting pushed down. So I'm just gonna put a little negative padding in there. All right, so as you can see, that looks pretty decent. These are too dark, so I'm going to change the color. Let's just add some padding here. Again, we'll go with gray. Whoops. Okay, so that looks decent. And then we're going to have a spacer for the big empty space in the middle. And then in the end, we have another image, which I downloaded. So this one is going to be, I think I need it bigger than 15, but let's see what it looks like. It's close enough, but let's try 18. All right, and again, I will fix the margins later. Like all of this squished up to the border stuff. Where am I? Oh, sorry, it was a bookmark. Okay. So that's part of system. I thought that looked funny. Okay. That would be because I'm missing this HStack to cover over these guys. Oh, I must have meant to do this and then screwed it up. All right, so still too big. So we shrink this to 10. I'm gonna grab the gray. Try that again. Okay, that padding is too much. Huh, still too much. All right, so we're gonna have to fix this obviously and fix this and all that good stuff after we make this a component. So where are we? So we have our people content view. Where am I? So that's this bar right here. Do I want to call this people content view? It confused me for a moment. Let me see here. Let's pick a better name for this. Person header. Okay, that's pretty terrible as well, but it's better than people content view. All right, so then we have our image, and then we have this bar right here, which I forgot to set the color of the second icon. So we're going to take this guy and we're going to make it its own component, and we're also going to break out some of the other stuff inside of it. So what are we going to call this component? So I called that person header. So I'll call it person. Let's just call it person like bar for now. I seriously have no idea what to call it. Okay. So I have this. Am I using person in here? No, I am not. So that's all I need there. I want to get rid of this. So quick check. Okay, so that still works. Looks very ugly, but it still works. So now I can see that do I even want to bother with this? Okay, for now, let's just leave this alone. And let's just start fixing some of our ugliness right here. But as you can see, our code is pretty readable. I mean, obviously we haven't built out the other tabs yet, but what's in here is pretty easily followable. And definitely a large part of that is just this declarative style that is in SwiftUI. So this is pretty cool. And then starting from the top, immediately below the nav bar, I want to squish these in a bit. Okay, so I think I made a mistake. I don't know why I put this news view inside of the thumb view. I think I should get rid of that. Then if I get rid of that, then we won't need this. Let's just make sure this does work. All right, so that does work. Fix this. Where was I before? Thumb view. So I'm going to fix this. Okay. So now, let's see if I can add some padding in here. Leading. So I'm not sure if it's going to let me do it on the outside of the custom control like this. Yeah, it works. Is this basically what we have here? Yeah, pretty much. So 10 looks like it's good enough. It looks like we don't need to add it on these guys down here. Did I add some padding in here? What's going on? No. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that alone. And then what I'll do here is I'll add the padding, or I'll try to add the padding to here. See what happens. Okay, so that definitely looks better. And I should probably have some more vertical padding in between these guys. Looks like this gap is good enough, but everything after needs some work. So after the news view, we're going to do padding again. We're going to do bottom. How much padding is there? Let's try 15. Yeah, that looks right. So if you notice, I'm putting this padding on the outside of the custom control. And the reason why I'm doing that is I don't want to have padding inside of the custom view itself and then have it be less reusable. Because obviously it would be better to allow the parent to decide, you know, kind of where to shift it around and stuff like that, if it the child, if it needed to. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm not liking this stuff over here. These big gaps right over here. So I'm gonna fix that. Person like bar. All right, so that pushed it way out. So I gotta bring it back in. So we're gonna do padding again. Leading is gonna be, in this case, about, actually that might be fine for that. So let's leave that. But this guy has completely disappeared off the screen. Nope, wrong one. Okay, so that brought it back. All right, so we are done. So as you can see, it looks pretty much virtually identical. Again, it's pure SwiftUI. There's no UI kit of any kind in here. These are all... Ooh, what happened to this? What happened to that? All right, so, and now the padding is messed up. So we're gonna fix that. Is that good enough? Maybe a little bit more. All right, ta-da! Now we have a very, very similar application to the real Instagram, except it is written entirely in SwiftUI 2.0. And as I stated before, we will flesh out the other tabs, assuming I get enough interest in this video. And then eventually I will put in real property wrappers so that we can have true event-driven controls filled out by the database, by data from the database, and also be able to do chat and stuff like that. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Oh, and if you have questions, definitely leave them on my site, dzhaven.com. If this video was good for you, leave a like. Thanks. Bye.